Hey pirates, welcome to another weekly update. Today is June 24th, 2020, and it's the update 1026. There are three things for us to talk about. It's the update itself, the bounty briefing, and a designer note about the saw factory. So let's go one by one here, starting with the update. The key change, I suppose, is that they're introducing the new components for bounty. We'll talk about them in a minute. A new campaign called Mutineer on the Bounty, and old campaigns coming back: Death Row for Subjugator parts, and High Sea Heresies for Zealots parts, tokens, and components. Bounty 33 starts today at 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern time, and I suppose that's midnight in the Great Britain. It ends on Monday, June 29th, and the top prizes this time are not a ship, but actually 6 new tier 9 armors, and they are all limited and they cost a small fortune. We'll get to that soon. The Mutineer on the Bounty, this is the campaign you can do with your riots, or if you have them built enough, you can even use your Mutineers and probably take less damage. There are the 3 normal price packs where you can get components, regular components, limited components, and build tokens, upgrade kits, upgrade tokens here in the mastery. So make sure you take your time, you start doing that early. You do, 1 a day, 2 a day, depending on the damage you take. And you can get all the tokens, all the components, so your mutineers will be ready for raid. Death Row's an old one. You get subjugator components here. And High Sea Heresy is the one where you can, if you haven't finished upgrading your zealots, it's worth doing. They're not that hard, and because they're tuned for Pegasus, so if you bring the zealots, you should be good. Do them easy, and get upgrade tokens and limited weapons and whatnot. One key change this upgrade, people have been complaining about the UAV, the built-in UAV on the Hellswarm being too powerful. And I agree, it was. So now it's being nerfed. I don't know how big a difference it's going to be, but it seems significant. And here's how it was. Based on what's written here, I'm not going to read word by word, but once the UAV leaves the Hellswarm, it circles a building or an enemy ship, a defender, for 1 second. Then it moves to the next one for 1 second, and so on and so forth, up to 10, 14 times, depending on the specials you had, right? So now it's going to circle each building for not 1, but 2 seconds, which would mean it would be damaging that building more. But wait, the other change is the reload of the mini weapon in the UAV that actually is there doing the damage while it circles the building. That's a hidden stat on this built-in UAV, so we don't know how fast the weapon on the UAV reloads, but now we can deduct that, because it said before, when it was 1 second, it was damaging the target 3 times, so you can assume it was firing 3 times per second. And now it's going to circle for 2 seconds, but only fire twice. So they're changing that reload to 1 second. So it fires at 0, at 1, and before it fires again a 3rd time, it moves on to the next building. That means it will do less damage, it will move slower, and maybe the Hellswarm UAV build will still do damage, but gatekeepers will maybe be healing faster than it can damage. Or maybe it's going to time out because it's moving slower from building to building and doing less damage. Or maybe, the Hellswarms will sit there and take more damage and die. So anyways, in any of these scenarios or combination of those, it's going to be less effective. It remains to be seen how much less effective, but, if it's firing only twice and it's staying there for 2 seconds before it moves on, it's significant, right? It doesn't mean you're going to have less UAVs swarming your base, because the reload on the Hellswarm doesn't change. It's base 10 seconds. Every 10 seconds it launches a UAV. With rank it goes down to 2.5 seconds. With specials it gets even faster. Anyways, but it should be less effective. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to counter just because it's circling for 2 seconds. You can only counter the UAV while it flies from the Hellswarm to the first target. After that, it's uncounterable, so don't waste your time there. A few bug fixes. There were issues with launchpad repair. It's fixed. Some players were seeing the howler, the damage ring on the wrong place, and it seems to be fixed. Some titanium targets randomly had drones. I've seen that happening, and it actually did a lot of damage to players. It seems to be fixed. So that's it as far as the update goes. I think the most significant thing is the TLC for the Mutineer and the changes, the nerf on the Hellswarm UAV. Let's move on to Bounty 33 briefing. So I mentioned already when it starts, when it ends, after 24 hours the store opens, and these are the new armors. So it's one for each damage type, one against each damage type, and they're simply called C9, X9, R9, and so on. They're limited, so it's not like you're going to redeem one and have it to use as many times as you want. You gotta redeem one by one. So for a fleet of 5, you're going to need 5. But guess what? This bounty, you can only get 2. So you cannot even get enough of the same one, let's say the ballistic one, to put on 5 ships, only on 2 for now. I suppose on Pillage and X-Raid and X-Bounty, they'll keep offering that. The usual replica bases will be there. Kixeye employee bases will only be there for the first 24 hours. So from Wednesday to Thursday, they're there, then they go away. And on Saturday, they come back, usually harder, and stay until Sunday for 24 hours each time. I suggest you score your points early on them if you're able to do them. Then shipwrecks will be running on between Thursday and Friday. And other than that, you can just hit each other, go to town, score points, and whatnot. These are the new armors. And you can see it's a huge jump. I just want to show it's the same weight as the level 8 plates. It's the same armor points it adds. I checked in game, it's the same build time. And on build time, just one word. Remember to upgrade your naval lab. These armors used to take a day and 3 hours for me. After I upgraded my naval lab 2 levels up, they're now taking under 21 hours. So it saved me like 5 hours per armor on each ship. That's a lot of shipyard time you save by upgrading the naval lab. But back here to the armor. So to compare, the level 8 ballistic, I think it gave you 28,000 ballistic deflection. Level 9 gives you 200,000. That's a huge power creep, huge. And probably it's going to make far sights completely useless against trenchers, for instance, and a lot less effective against a lot of ships. And even decimators now, it's going to be a lot easier for you to just drive by without getting mauled with 200,000 extra deflection from one of these armors. This is the biggest jump. If we look at the other ones, explosive now gives you 75,000 versus 20,000 that the level 8 armor gave, so it's a big jump as well. It's probably good on Hellswarms against mongoose turrets and stuff like that. Penetrative, I don't see much use for now, but it's also a big jump, 100,000 extra deflection. Concussive, 100,000 extra deflection. Again, I don't see many ships in defense, many turrets doing concussive for now, but the game changes. Corrosive are going to help you against gatekeepers with extra 50,000, and I'm pretty sure that makes the Draconian scattergun turrets completely useless from now on if ships have this armor plate. The good news is no ships can have all of them. You can only put one of each plate, and you only have 3 slots on each Conqueror, so you're going to have to pick your poison here. But I imagine corrosive, explosive, and ballistic will be the most popular, I suppose. Maybe radioactive, which is right here, giving extra 125,000 armor, deflection to the ship. Equip cap is 1, and let's look at the prices. This is where my jaw dropped, and it's 18,000 bounty points. Remember when you hit a Kixeye employee base, best case it gives you 4,000. From a player best case, I think you get like 3,000, 4,000. I don't think you get more than that ever. And it's 18,000 to redeem one of these, and you can only get two. So if you want two ballistic plates, be ready with 36,000 bounty. If you're gonna blitz and coin, you know, fine, that's not gonna be a problem for you. But if you wanna play, get ready to put in a lot of seed time. You can get more Hellswarms, the Salamander Mortar, you know, Mongoose, heavy rocket turrets, gatekeepers, you know, the gatekeeper weapon here. And then there's some prizes for the leaderboard, some Conqueror tokens, structure tokens, and stuff like that. Okay, so that's it for bounty. The big news are the armors. They're crazy expensive. They're also crazy overpowered, if you ask me. I think a lot of players who were just barely able to defend their bases will now become farms. People who are already farms don't have a hope in hell right now. So the pendulum, in my opinion, has swung hard in the attacker's favor and against the defenders. The final bit here is just an intro to the SAW factory, and just to explain, SAW means subaquatic warfare. This post was also the first one written by Kixeye Braden, and he's kind of taking over from Saltwater as the main PvP game designer. So now it sounds like we have someone new to either blame or thank for any new content. And they don't announce a date, but he's just explaining how it works. So the subaquatic war factory works by, like, the launch pad produces rockets. This one will produce things that you can put in your base in specific places you want on the water. And they are always going to be subaquatic stuff. Here he kind of explains that they can be simple sea mines that blow up when an attacker passes over them, or they can even be AI-controlled submarines that will be pursuing attackers and doing damage to them. So remains to be seen the cost and the time required to produce each one of those. But he does explain that, similar to rockets, these are expendable. So they'll stay there, and let's say the mine explodes, you're going to need another mine, just like you would need another rocket, except if your base wins. So he says some items are destructible, some are not. But when your base successfully defends, you keep the item in place until your base loses. Then if the item is a disposable one, like a mine, you need to build another one and put it in place, right? And so on. So that's just a quick overview. And the idea is, like, of course, you'll learn how to better use them, and I hope that brings the pendulum back to a more balanced situation for the defenders whenever this comes out, and then however long it takes to build the SAW factory itself, and then however long it takes to build the items we can put on base. So I don't know if that's a month out, 2 months out, but now at least we get an idea of, you know, how it's going to work. So officially, I'd like to extend our welcome to Kixeye Braden and hope he does a good job giving us a good PvP experience. We know Kixeye's usually hit and miss. Some things are cool, some are not. I hope he gets it more right than wrong. And welcome to the team. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, any comments, you know, just leave a comment in the video on YouTube. And, you know, enjoy bounty if you can, have a good time if you can, and talk to you next week. Take care, Pirates.